Hello, live. I'm your host.
We are in with some more Dark Souls expansions, which we have big, shiny, fancy boxes of to show off. So we are doing an unboxing. I know, not particularly fancy, but we figure you guys would want to see what's in here in a way other than photos.
Yeah.
What are we going to start with?
I think we're going to crack off with the Asylum Demon.
Okay.
Here's the one that people have seen the least of.
Okey-dokey.
And it's a bit of an odd one because from my experience of Dark Souls, it's the first thing that you really meet that resembles a boss.
So we tried to represent that. So this one, as an expansion, obviously is one of the mega boss expansions. So you use him as a mega boss. Can also be used as a mini boss. So he has 2 decks of cards in there.
Mega and mini.
Mega and mini. So we'll start off with the rule book. We did Calamite, right? So we've seen the standard size for these rule books.
Yes, yeah. Sort of
the nice little A5 ones. I believe they're all 16 pages long as well, including cover to cover.
Well
done. So all the rules and stuff you want in there. There's nothing overly fancy. I'm pretty sure we have an update out there somewhere that explains how this guy works, but I'll talk over those bits as we go.
Yeah, there's definitely one coming.
Yes.
But the production box hasn't gone out yet. Okay. I've not seen anything in here.
Ooh.
All new and shiny.
So the dial, as usual. So this is the dial that you use whether you're using Mega or Mini. The stat that changes is his armor and his resistance. So the health number is consistent. These tokens here are pillar tokens. So they are double-sided, but they are the same on each side, and I will explain why they're the same on each side in a second. There was a time when they were different on each side, but then we thought there's a way smarter way of doing this.
Remove.
So I'll pop this out of the way a little bit. So then we move on to the tile. So as explained, I believe we did explain in the last unboxing we did for Calamite, if the boss has a 75mm base, they come in a 420mm by 420mm tile, which is...
It's all very specific.
One of these. And if they are on a 150mm base, they come in a 560mm by 560mm. So this is one of the... I call it smaller.
Yeah,
it's not small. No. Does the whole thing just about fit on the...
Yeah, we're good.
Just about fits. So I don't know how well you can see it on the camera. These nodes here, so you got one there, trying not to cover it with my finger, one up here and one over here. These are where your tokens get placed. So these, I don't know how well the camera's picking up that these are kind of pillars with rubble around them. Yeah. So you place your pillars down to mark that they are there. And both the Asylum Demon is the name as the mini-boss. The mega-boss is called the Stray Demon. So they are the same looking thing. They are from the same kin. Have you lined it up nicely?
Yep.
Check you out. So the tokens, gameplay functionality doesn't matter where you put them in terms of lining them up. But we have got them so that for those that like to, can line them up to make the art follow all the way through.
That's me.
That is you. That has to be precise as it is. No, don't bump the tokens. Leave them where they are.
Yeah, spend far too much time with guys, you've moved the tokens.
So both the Stray Demon and the Asylum Demon have a rule where they can smash these pillars. Yep. If they do an attack that hits an area that also hits a pillar, the pillar smashes.
Oh yeah, it's a free tile to move on to.
Yes, you can then move on to them. You can then move on to them, and they have. I believe they stagger. Yep. I believe it is they stagger when they smash you. So they both have that. So that's the boss side. I'll go through the decks of cards in a minute. I'm trying to go through this in sort of a routine fashion and butchering it. The other side, where you will do your level 4 encounters, is over this way. I'll flip it around the other way to see if any Dark Souls fans recognise this area. So this is modelled on a specific area, and the giveaway is there is a bird's nest over here. So I don't know if any fans will recognise that, but we tried to model that as close as we could. I believe it was Tim. I will check the rulebook actually for the credits. I believe this one was Tim. So yes, this was a wonderful graphic artist texture artist called Tim Toolan who did this one.
Tim the Toolman Taylor.
He did a few of them. So that's the encounter area with your various nodes spread out where you need them to spawn the various things in for your level 4 encounters. I guess we'll go on to cards. So
do you want to pass me the big boy himself, and I'll get building him.
Boy. So
this is one of the minis that does have some assembly.
So yes, his assembly is the the tail. That's it. You just have to pop that in the back.
He says throwing the tail on the floor.
If you just throw it on the floor. Good job, Giblin. Giblin, the ultimate professional.
As ever. Oh.
So cards, I don't want to show off. I'm not going to show off any of these cards. So the small ones are your equipment. There are 4 equipment cards in there, 2 from the mini boss, 2 from the mega boss. So there are 2 in there. I'm not showing you what they are. You can wait and see. Yeah. Unless you twist my arm enough in chat, and then I might show you one. Yeah. I'll show you one of the mini boss ones if you moan enough. And then we go into the deck. So in terms of the large cards, like the behavior cards, there are more in this expansion than there tend to be in the others, because you have the mega and the mini boss variant.
Yeah.
So this is the Asylum Demon variant here, and all the cards you need to go with him. And then you have the Stray Demon variant there. Again, lovely light making it almost unseeable. And then at the back of those, you have your 3, and then these all have on them the expansions that you need to use them. So I don't know how clearly, I don't know which camera I'm best trying to show this.
Probably the top one.
Is it going to focus? Come on, I believe in you, camera. You can do it.
Oh.
Kind of, sort of. Well, you can see enough that there is only one icon down here. That is the core box icon. So this is one of the 2 that you only need the core box to use.
Yeah.
And then you can see these ones here. This one has 2 icons on it. So I believe this one is Iron Keep and core box, and this one is Explorers and Darkroot. Yeah. So those icons are there so that you know kind of what components from which expansions you need. But I believe I'm right in saying that all of them come with at least 2 that are core box only. So if you only have the core box and you get a mega boss, yeah, you can still
definitely use it with your
mix it up with the level 4 encounters. Yeah. So that is that one. Do we have any questions on that one before we pop him away?
No, everyone seems pretty set.
Pretty set with that one?
Yeah.
Tell you what, we'll be lazy. We'll put it away when the cameras are off. I'll just fold it up to get it in the box as best as possible.
I'll leave him out though.
And we'll fix that.
He can be my little mascot.
As he says, rummaging the mic. So, the big one.
The 4 Kings.
Nice small box. Teeny tiny little box. It's basically empty, nothing in it.
So the Asylum Demon is available to pre-order now.
Mm-hmm.
You can go onto the Steam Forge website and pre-order that, or speak to your local gaming store, and they'll be able to sort that out for you. This one, however, this became Kickstarter exclusive.
Right.
Yeah, you can only get it if you back the Kickstarter. So this one isn't for everybody. Although I believe we may have it at conventions in the future.
Right.
If we have some available.
Seems fair. So I guess we'll go in the same order rather than me get everything out. Rulebook, you know what these look like now. This is the 3rd or 4th one of these you've seen. Also, 16 pages. Nailed it.
Well done.
Again, laid out exactly the same as all the others. In fact, the only rulebook that is laid out slightly differently is the Asylum Demon one, because his game elements have to be explained for the mini-boss version as well, so that comes slightly earlier, but they're generally boilerplated to be almost identical.
I have a question.
Mm-hmm.
Is he weak to black fire bombs?
At one point, I'm going to have to check the card now to double check. I don't
because that's the cheesy way of.
It is the cheesy way. So at one point we had it so that his special rule was they did double damage, and then we added the pillar smash. I'm going to double check the card quickly, but I don't think he is. I think he's just got the pillar smashing.
Yeah.
No, he just has the pillar smashing. At one point he did take double damage from fire bombs.
Yeah.
We took it out because when you are looking at kind of writing rules for stuff, ideally you want them to be as relevant the whole time rather than there's one card out of all these cards.
Hundreds that is good.
That interacts with this. So it'd been a cool bit of fan service to do, but ultimately in terms of gameplay, having this rule that is only active for one card in the entire game seems...
Please could you show the demon a little closer to the camera? Are you ready to come in? Oh, lean forwards. I need to drop my mic whilst I'm rustling. Oh, wait. If only I had like a little turntable. Look at that booty.
So am I right in saying you're going to be getting photos of these for an... Oh God, he's gone. You do realise how sad it is to laugh at your own... gone.
Oh dear.
Oh dear. Token sheet for the 4 kings. This one looks a bit different to the regular token sheets and is bigger than most of the others. So they have a dial for each king, and then these are your base hugger templates to identify which king is which, because the miniatures are all the same. Each dial is the same, they're all 25 health, but these do not have any, like, to show where the heat up is, because these heat up differently.
Yeah, it's in the update I didn't go into too much detail of how that happens, so I'll let you. And people are really excited to see the Abyss side of the board, because for photos it's very dark.
I think we may have the same problem here, but we'll see. There is like a mist effect on it that just doesn't show up great on camera. It's like a nice purpley blue. And this one is, as I've said, all the 75mm base ones. Well, that was a lie, because the models are a 75mm base, but this is one of the 560.
Yeah, that's because there are so many.
So I don't know how. So you can kind of see it a little bit on the edge down this way. So you can see the mist down here a bit. It really doesn't show up great on camera, but you can definitely get a bit of it down in this corner. This is throughout the board. We didn't want it. We could have just gone, it's flat black. We thought we'd try and put something of interest on there. So we've got a little bit of this purpley mist. The nodes are also purple rather than the usual colours to try and make it so that nothing stands out too much.
How big the board is, you shouldn't be here. But
it's a nice small board.
Yeah.
Nice small board. Nice. So the way they work, you start with King 1 on there. I know, so affectionately named. King 1 will start off out on the board. When he goes through his first behaviour cards, as you would like reset the deck to flip it over, another king comes in, and that continues to happen. But this one's still got all the tape in it.
I don't think so. I think we've taken them out. It should
just on the bottom one there. Move these out of the way so they don't go flying.
There's another bit of tape.
I'm going to start to get all of the models out, and I'll go through the cards.
Ooh.
So much scary. And then your tokens, which are just nice little base hugger tokens. Just get that round to the camera, you can actually see it. So they sit nice and flush up against the bases so you can see which king is which. And then you go onto the behaviours. So the way the behaviours work, they break up into behaviours specific to each different king. So these are King 1's behaviours. These are King 2's.
From a lore perspective, I'll put my hands up. I'm terrible at Dark Souls. I never saw these guys because I didn't really get very far before giving up. So what's their shtick?
So, and I might butcher the lore here because I play them because I like the game, so I'm not great at the lore, but I'll give it a go. My understanding is that they were the Knights of, I believe they were Knights of Gwyn. Oh, there's so many G names. And they basically were they are located in the, obviously, Abyss. You get there through the New Londo ruins, I think. This is where chat's going to tell me I'm an idiot.
Yeah, well, if anyone was in chat, let us know what the backstory is for these guys.
And basically, they became corrupt.
Okay.
As anything that goes anywhere near the Abyss is. I'm not even sure, like there's various characters where the whole backstory isn't necessarily known. There are speculations that kind of draw dots, like the big one is the furtive pygmy, where there's speculation like that might be Manus, but you don't really know exactly what's gone on. These guys do have a much better understood story. Yeah. I'm just bad at it. I'm bad at storying. I'm going to sit here and say I'm good at the game. Yeah. I'm bad at the story. I do it to kill stuff.
Fair enough. Someone said there were human kings of New Londo, but when the Abyss corrupted the city, they were corrupted with it.
Oh, that wasn't a million miles away.
No, not at all. So how do they function in game then? Because obviously one starts on the node, but there's not 3 boss nodes.
Yes. So one will spawn in, and then he will have the deck. So these are they have icons which are located. Cards really don't work great on camera, but this icon here is King number 1. So these are King 1's cards, and you would draw, I believe it's 4.
I think it's 4,
Yes, it is. Starts on 4. So you would draw, there are 8 in total. You draw 4, so there's 4 that will not be in there. Shuffle them up, functions like a normal boss. So does this one, does this one, does this one, does this one, and we'll say ends up over here somewhere.
Yep.
So he ends up over there. As you flip this over, or would flip this over, another one comes in.
Another one.
Another one comes in. This is King 2, so you take cards from King 2's deck, and you would add those in. I believe, off the top of my head, it's been a long time since I did playtesting. It's remove 1,
add 2, yeah.
So we remove 1 at random.
Yep.
We add 2 of these in, shuffle them up,
yep.
and then we go through. So if we were to go through this behaviour, it's move 1 with a push towards the aggro. So we'll say the aggro is here.
Yep.
In terms of their activation order, it's their kind of priority is the king number.
Yeah. So the lower the king number, they activate first.
Yes. So 1 goes in, does what he does. 2 would then do it. Say it's over there. And they all then start to do the behaviours. Yeah. And they go off it as it goes.
I'm going to put you on the spot. Do they do the entirety of the card?
Yes.
And then before the next one? Yeah, cool.
Yeah, so whole thing. So this one would do the whole, this card is called
move
Thrust,
forward,
Retreat.
attack,
so this one is move towards aggro, attack for 6 on the aggro, weaken the back arc, and then retreat back away from the aggro.
Yeah.
So you would assume in this situation, if the aggro was here and he'd been pushed to here, then this king would then come back to here.
Yep.
And then say this one was summoned in, your aggro is over here, he would move to here. He would make the attack but not hit anything, and then he would move back to here. And they would go through the whole behaviour deck doing that until again you hit that you've resolved all of them, and we'll say for the sake of demonstration purposes that one is there and this one is here. Then this one comes in, and then we take 2 out of here and we add 2 cards in from King 3's deck. So it's increasing by 1 every time. So the duration between another one coming gets longer as the fight goes on.
It gives you more time to kill a king.
And they are resistance 2, armor 2, resistance 2, 25 health each. So you've got 100 health to get through. Yeah.
So I remember playtesting this with you and played like from other bosses. Like some of the bosses teach you to be cautious and to plink damage where you can. Yeah. With these ones, when we tried doing that, I remember it being super tense because we tried that, it didn't work because the longer you try to learn their cycles and you can't learn it until all 4 are out.
Yes.
Because it keeps on changing, and they would just. It's like a horrible snowball thing. It's a sprint, not a marathon. This one.
So the memorization element within this one is being mindful of all of the cards that came out before.
Yeah.
There is a chance that, one of them definitely isn't going to be in there, but you don't know what it is. So you need to try and play around this, I guess, the cheaty way. Yeah. The main thing to be observant of is the predominant arcs when you are being hit. So if you notice a predominance of they hit in the front a lot, they're weak in the back a lot, then try and position yourself so that you're rarely in the front and behind as much as possible. Yeah. And you basically try and look at the percentages of how frequently you have a consistent weak spot and play to that. But this is a sprint. Yes. This is not if you try and play this slow and steady, you will get chipped down. Yeah. So this one is a sprint. Getting through, once you're at like a mega boss, your equipment level, 25 health can go pretty quick at 2-2. Yeah. You can get through it quickly, but if you get overwhelmed, it gets very scary very quickly. And I would definitely recommend, if you get round to playing it, don't split damage too much. No. You can split it on occasion because you don't lose anything for doing it. But I would not split damage because you need to try and stop yourselves getting overwhelmed, because the board looks huge, but when there's 4 of those guys out, it's not big enough. No.
So we've got a few questions coming about them. Mm-hmm. When you reveal tombstones prior to fighting these guys, which behaviour deck would you check?
So that would always be from the first one. So it'd be you have these 4 out.
Have a look at them.
Have a look at those 4.
Yeah. What happens if a king is on the spawn point at the moment, another king would
same
spawn.
as usual boss rules. You can't have two bosses on the same node. So say you were in this situation and the fourth one was coming in, you failed. You're going to die if you ever get in this situation. But say you're in this situation, the players have the choice of where this one goes. So he could go on any of these adjacent. So assuming the whole group is over there, they'd probably push them back, and then he would come in on there.
So it functions the same as the leap?
Yes, same as a leap, or when you've got Ornstein and Smaug. Same interactions as Ornstein and Smaug. You just move them off the node onto an adjacent one.
Okay. That's all the questions on these. If you guys have any questions, do send them in to us, and we'll happily answer them. Other than that, what sort of treasure do we get with these guys?
These guys. Boom, 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 boom. I don't know if I want to give too much of the treasure away. So the Mega Boss treasure is always a weird one because it's more prevalent if you're doing campaign play.
Yeah, because
it's a boss.
Usually the Mega Boss, if you beat it, you've ended the campaign.
That's that. Well, it's not as with the campaigns. Sometimes it does go on after.
Yeah.
But if you're just doing like a one-time session where you end it with a Mega Boss, that'd be that session over, so you don't get to use it.
Yeah.
So you have a bequeathed Lord Soul, which means that the tier 3 for each of your stats is considered to be 40.
Oh wow, that's cool.
So it means if you were running a Herald and you wanted to give them a few Ultra Greatsword, you can.
You could.
And then the Four King Sword, which is a powerful sword, 22 Strength, 22 Dex, 30 Faith. It has 1 orange dice for 0 stamina, and then for 3 stamina you get 2 blue dice of magic damage that hits the whole node, and then it's got a bit of black resistance, and an upgrade slot on it. So, but the Lord Soul is the big one. There is a fan favourite. I guess I'll show the one fan favourite from the Asylum Demon, which...
Whilst you're getting that out, I'm just going to answer a question here. That someone said, when can we expect copies? Shipping begins July, so we're all on track with our latest timeline for that one. Mm-hmm. And as are all the expansions for this. And as we announced recently, we are all locked in now.
Yep.
All sorted.
Yup.
It's all gravy.
So... I'm going to show, which one do I want to show off? Would they like to see one piece of Asylum Demon, or would they like to see one piece of Stray Demon?
I'm going to vote for them. I'm going to say Asylum.
You're going to say Asylum?
Yeah.
So we won't do the hammer, because we all know what weapons do. For beating the Asylum Demon, you can get the Big Pilgrim's Key.
Oh, yeah.
Which means that you can place the character that has this piece of equipment on any entry node, not just ones where they came in. So you can put them on the opposite side of the room. Cool. And then there is also, for the Stray Demon, you can get a Homeward Bone, which is if you're in an encounter and you want to get out of there, you can get out of there. So during your activation, you may discard this card to end an encounter and return to the bonfire tower. So if you're in trouble and you don't want to die, or you've bitten off more than you can chew, there is a Homeward Bone in there.
So a few more questions came in. Are all 4 kings the exact same copy? Yes, they are. They're all the same sculpt. But you do have the marker tokens to help you locate which ones are which. Can there only be these 4 kings? If you kill the first one, it's the maximum on the board now 3. Because in the game, even if you kill the first king, there can still be 4 if you stall too much.
Yeah, so in the game, it's called the 4 kings, but in the fight, you can actually end up with 5 if you take too long. Yeah. In this, the limit is 4. There are four decks for them. So there are rules in place. I forget the exact name we gave it, but if there is an activation for the bosses, if all the bosses are dead, you still flip the cards.
Take a breather, I think it's called.
But you get... It's either stamina or health back. I think it's stamina back. Is health back.
I remember that one. I read the rule book recently.
If you've killed them all and there's none left on there, obviously that would usually lock up the fight because there's nothing to resolve. But you continue to flip the behaviour cards until you get to a point where the next one spawns. But you recover health as a group while that is happening. As like your little bonus. Like, well, if you managed it, you've probably suffered quite a lot of resources to do it.
Annoyingly, Twitch has
chat died.
It's not died, but there's a little pop-up that says mods can now update auto mod levels as well. That is sitting right in front of
useful. Thanks for that useful information.
Waitley family reunion. If you could just like quickly just post something, it'll push yours up past this little pop-up. I can't.
So we can read it.
I can't Xbox it away. It's really frustrating.
Twitch, where you do this, can you click the cog? Try clicking the cog. Will that make it go away?
Yes, this guy.
Yeah.
Why we have him on stream. Okay, so there's saying that there. Are you aware of the popular tiered item drop list house rule, and are there any plans to incorporate any official rule variants with a list of tiers for all contents?
Maybe is the answer to that question. We're looking at options. We're big fans of a lot of the house rule content. We really like how vibrant the community is around it. We don't want to come in as like an authority on it, because that's a shame. Like the whole thing with board games is like you give board gamers this toolkit and they'll do what they want with it. That's the strength of board games. We're aware of it. We think some of it's super cool. We may do something with it. We may not. I know that we have plans for some upcoming streams where we will be taking on some of the mega bosses with some kind of preset gear that like generally a lot of the gear that's used will be. We have various different sets of gear that we play test with. Like we have the slightly weaker set, the really strong set, the one we consider in the middle. And there's a few different sets with different armor pieces on different guys. So I believe when we do some streams of these guys with us actually fighting them, we'll make those available. So anybody that wants to just jump in and give the mega boss a go, they'll have a nice equipment list that they can basically set it like this. You can do it with this, but it's hard. You can do it with this, it's 50-50. You can do it with this, it should be fairly easy.
Easy mode.
Something along those lines, similar to those that came to Steam, either of the Steam cons last year, or the Anno Londo Showdown that we did.
With the presets.
So stuff along those lines, but we are very aware of the stuff that's going on in the house ruling stuff. It's super cool. Whether we'll officially do anything with it, I can't really commit yes or no to, but a good question nevertheless.
When can we expect the Neato and Painted World expansions?
That is another very good question.
And are there any plans for Andre and Firekeeper miniatures?
I don't know on that one. That is not a question for me, I'm afraid. In terms of the Painted World expansion and the Neato expansion, still on the table. I don't know. I think initially Painted World was down for 2018. Not sure how likely that is going to be, but they're definitely still planned.
And just basically, this one comes in from Rakdos93. Is more of an idea than a question. Is have you thought about doing a behaviour expansion for enemies in the core game so you can?
There's a mechanic that I really like for the like. I guess I'll call them grunts because we don't. That's internally we very often call the smaller guys grunts. Is behaviour cards that have two different behaviours on them, one on the front, one on the back, and then you have the ability, so say you have 3 hollow soldiers out, the first one does this behaviour, flip it over, the second one does this behaviour, flip it back over, the third one does the same as the first, just to add a bit more kind of depth into how they function. It's something I'd love to do, but it's not necessarily a discussion that we've had particularly recently, but there's so much stuff we can do with this down the line. It's trying to pick the ones that are the right ones to do as much as it is the ones that are the easiest to do, because that one is one of the easy ones. And the other thing is, if we bring out a new expansion deck for core enemies, we reduce the pool of different behaviours we have for expansion content to a point where it's like, well, this new thing in this expansion is exactly the same as this thing from the new core set cards. So it's a lot about like there's so many different enemies in the game at this point. Trying to make sure that everything feels different and flavourful to how it acts in the video game is more important than having a heap of content for this one set of specific things.
Cool. So I believe next week you're planning to join us again for a playthrough. Is that right?
Apparently, so I'm told right now.
Oh, Ronan, was that the plan? Yeah.
So yes,
well,
I am.
Yes, we've got him on stream saying it
again.
I'll post it in updates. Do it in streams. I'll get you every time.
Scumbag Giblin.
Yeah. Okay, guys saying once you've beaten a mega boss, the campaign is essentially done. So what you do with the loot, go fight another mega boss.
So some of the campaigns that we have in there don't necessarily have. So a lot of them, for example, I say a lot of them. Some of them use one of the campaigns from the core box as a route, so that you could then jump in and do these at the end of that if you wished.
Yeah, sort of bolt onto the end of the campaign.
Some of them we have where there's kind of there's a few mega bosses at the end. There will always be one mega boss at the end whose equipment you don't use.
Yeah.
But we want people to play around with the campaign system. We, as the development continued, we had a few of the campaign stuff based firmly on the video game routes and paths that you take along that. But there's only so much you can do with that to keep it fresh. Yeah. So then we just started having a bit of fun with it, mixing stuff around, altering core rules. I believe it's the Gaping Dragons campaign is a complete, it has a completely different take on how loot works in that one. I can't remember what it is off the top of my head, but it is a different way of handling the whole system. Yeah. So there are some campaigns where there is mega boss, but we want to promote people, make your own, just have fun with it. We've given you this toolkit. The campaign system is intentionally quite easy and accessible, so you can play around with it as much as you like.
Play what you want, yeah. Be the evil DM who kills all his players.
Yep.
I think we'll take this last question because it's quite a nice one to end on because it leads into sort of Wave 3 stuff. Any info on how the armor set expansion will work?
On the armor set expansion.
Yeah, so that's the one we recently showed in the Kickstarter updates where they got reposed.
So the armor sets have two different variants of them. So you have kind of your basic version and your kind of after beating mini boss versions. So it's slightly away from exactly how they work in the video games. When people are buying miniatures, we want to be able to give them as much reason to use them as possible. Yeah. So adding in two different, so you can use them before and after bosses, and you can mix and match those as to whether they're the same or different. But each of the miniatures, I believe there's 20 cards in total to go along with the 10 armor sets. Yeah. So there are 10 before a mini boss and 10 after a mini boss, so that you can use those for as much as the game as possible, because generally speaking, when you give something like legendary armor,
just walks through things.
They're generally quite fan favorite sets. 9 times out of 10, something's a fan favorite because it's really good or it looks stupid, which makes it endearing, right?
Double doors.
So we looked through. I keep staring over there because the models are over there.
The print booths are over that way. This is a time you could put it on the right-hand camera because Alex is looking in the right direction.
I'm finally looking at the right direction. I never look at that one. So with those guys, we've separated it out so that there are two different variants so that you can use the miniatures for as much of the game as possible. The original route we were looking at would have meant that you basically added those in after you kill a mini-boss. Right. And we just thought it was a shame to only have these really cool miniatures used for half the game.
Yeah, makes sense.
So in terms of the official rules, there are 10 before mini-boss, 10 after mini-boss, so that you can use them at whichever interval you like. Yeah. But you can also just use the miniatures to represent characters if you wish, because they're super cool and now they have weapons. Yeah.
All right, I think that's a nice little Q&A we've had there. So I hope you guys at home have enjoyed it and have learned a bit more about the upcoming expansions for Dark Souls in Wave 2, which should be shipping in July, which is awesome. Glad to see that. And thank you for joining us, Alex. Guys, if you've got any more questions, drop them in the comments on YouTube, and we'll keep an eye out for anything that we can pass back to Alex and get an answer on.
Apparently, I'll see you next week.
Yeah, we'll see you next week for a playthrough. Let us know, actually, in the comments of YouTube, what you want to see next week. We'll probably be doing the Four Kings or the Asylum Demon.
Yeah, so one of these two. Let us know what you want to see. Oh, please don't be the Four Kings.
I think Gaz will be back joining us. Gaz with his mighty beard.
Oh no, that means we're definitely done. There's only so much luck that man can carry.
Yeah. All right, guys, we shall see you again next week.
Bye.